obligations stated in that convention can be confirmed or supplemented or extended, etc., by a subsequent treaty that will prevail over the Vienna Convention. So here it comes to a more important region. So this is the situation where both earlier and subsequent treaties are concerned. In that case, Article 103 of the United Nations Charter. Article 103 of the United Nations Charter states that in the event of a conflict between the obligations of the members of the United Nations under the present Charter and their obligations under any other international agreement, their obligations under the present Charter shall prevail. Okay? So here, it is clearly stated that the Charter prevails over earlier obligations or further treaty obligations. But do you think that that Article 50, that Article 103 only states the priority of the United Nations Charter? So this formula, okay, the obligations of the member under the present Charter. What does it mean? What does it mean, or what does it refer to? The obligations of the members under the present Charter. What is? How can we interpret this? Let's say that we've seen last week Article 51 regarding self-defense. Okay? So Article 51 of the Charter, of the UN Charter, regarding self-defense. If we have, let's say, a treaty between Cambodia and the US, okay? If there is a treaty between Cambodia and the US giving a definition of self-defense, including preemptive and preventive self-defense. Okay, we've seen last week what are the differences between those. Okay, so that's the example one. We'll see what is the solution. And if we have example number two, we've also mentioned last week the the UN Security Council Resolution 1373 of 2001, so adopted in the aftermath of the 9/11 attacks, regarding the terrorism. And let's say that we have a treaty, once again, between let's say Cambodia and the US, and in that case, sequencing of terms. Well, the example is of course stupid, but it's just to put some clearly contradictory obligations. So, in the first case, in the first example, so we have a provision of the UN Charter regarding self-defense, and we have a treaty between Cambodia and the US, including preemptive and preventive self-defense. Well, we've seen that preemptive and for sure preventive self-defense are in contradiction with Article 41. So we have some contradictory obligation or contradictory rights between Article 51 and the treaty between Cambodia and the US. So, do you think that Article 103 can have some effect, some consequences on situation 1, on this case? And if so, what would be the consequences? My question relates to the interpretation of the obligations of the members of the United Nations under the Prison Charter. Okay? So can we say that Article 51 is an obligation of the members of the United Nations under the Prison Charter? So, of course, the provision of the UN Charter states the obligations of the members under the Prison Charter. And the second one, can we say that resolution of the Security Council can be qualified as an obligation of the members of the United Nations and the Prison Charter? Before going to that point, let's go back over to the first one. Okay, so Article 51 can be qualified as obligations of the members, etc. And if there is a contradiction with between Article 51 and the treaty between Cambodia and the US, what is the consequence? What is the outcome of the application of Article 103? Sorry? Yeah, Article 51 will prevail. It means that the treaty between Cambodia and the US is not nullified. It does exist as an international treaty, but to the extent to the contradiction with Article 51, Article 51 will prevail. It means that, well, if I don't know, if the treaty between Cambodia and the US states that in case of an imminent threat, the states can declare themselves in the situation of self-defense. This provision cannot be implemented, cannot be enforced. Article 51 will prevail over those provisions. Okay? But the treaty is not void. The treaty is not nullified by Article 103. In the second point, in the second situation, we have a Security Council resolution regarding terrorism, and well, one of the elements of Resolution 173 is the prohibition of any action, any contribution to the financing of a terrorist group. And let's say that, I don't know why Cambodia and the US would sign such a treaty, but let's say that we have a treaty between Cambodia and the US to organize the financing of a terrorist group. Can we apply Article 103 in that situation? Yeah.
What if that terrorist group is freedom fighter in the Cambodia? Because there is no unity of the definition of terrorism.
Okay, so to make it easier. Okay. Let's say that the group is qualified as a terrorist group by the Security Council. Okay. So the US, China, etc., say that this group is a terrorist group. If there is a treaty between Cambodia and North Korea regarding the financing of that group, so if there is a contradiction between the Security Council resolution, this one or any other resolution adopted by the Security Council, and the treaty between Cambodia and North Korea, can we apply Article 103 to this situation?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
So what is that UNSC resolution is peremptory norm of international law? And so
No.
So in this case, can Cambodia now delegate from that norm?
What do you think?
Actually, as a member of UN, as members of UN, all state parties to the UN has to comply with the UNSC.
Yeah. Well, the answer is yes, you can apply Article 103 to that situation. It means that the expression, the formula, the obligations of the members of the United Nations under the present Charter does not only refer to the provisions of the Charter itself, but also to the instruments adopted in conformity with the Charter. So the Security Council resolution are under Article 25 of the UN Charter are binding on members of the organization. So if there is a contradiction, if there are contradictory obligations on states under a Security Council resolution and a treaty, the Security Council resolution will prevail over the treaty. Okay? But it does not modify the treaty. The treaty can still exist between Cambodia and North Korea, but to the extent to the contradiction between the treaty and the Security Council resolution, the Security Council resolution will prevail over the treaty.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Regarding Article 137,
Yeah.
the US has come up with the principle of preventive surveillance.
Yeah.
And in this regard, if so, it is very illegal. And what is the consequences of the derogation from Article 51 of the Charter?
Shame.
Shame?
Yeah, that's it. You will not invade the territory of the US because the US invaded the territory of Iraq or of Libya or some of Libya or invade the territory of Iraq, there is a prohibition of the preventive self-defense. Preventive self-defense is clearly not in conformity with international law. But the US, when they decided to attack Iraq in 2003, tried to justify the attack under international law, referring to some earlier resolutions of the Security Council, and it's only after the attack, when it was quite clear that there was no justification for that, that the US said, okay, there is the argument, the argument of the preventive self-defense, but I'm not really sure that the US itself thinks that preventive self-defense is in conformity with international law. So the consequences, of course, there are no consequences for the US, but there is an attempt to regulate the use of force in international relations. There are some situations for which it works properly, and some others, such as the attack against Iraq by the US and some other states, such as Italy, Great Britain, Poland, etc. For situations for which it does not work. So we've said previously that in that case, clauses which claim priority over future treaty engagements are futile. They can be invoked against third states. Okay? And Article 103 is the same situation. It states that the Charter prevailed over earlier or subsequent treaties. Can we say that they cannot be invoked against third states? Can we say this for Article 103? What are the effects of Article 103 for states, for a member state of the UN, which concludes a treaty with a state which is not a member of the UN? So let's say that here, let's say that the treaty here is concluded between Kosovo. Okay, do you know Kosovo? The show's here. So Kosovo is not a member of the United Nations organization. So let's say that there is a treaty between Kosovo and the US regarding self-defense. So what would be the consequences of such a provision for a treaty concluded between a United Nations state member and a non-United Nations state member?
I think that 103 will be applied for the US government.
So it's the same as what Wolfgang was saying here, that we cannot be invoked against third states. That's what it is. So, why isn't it the opinion of the majority of scholars, of specialists of international law? Well, it could be an opinion, but why isn't it the opinion of the majority of the specialists at the international level? What could be said? What could be the legal explanation to extend the application of the rule stated in Article 103 to states which are not members of the United Nations Organization? If you want to defend the opinion that the rule expressed in Article 103 makes the Charter prevail over an agreement between Kosovo and the US, what can you say? Or what should you say?
Because of the word obligation under any international agreements.
No, well, the problem here is that by definition, the United Nations Charter is only binding on member states of the organization, right? And here you have a treaty concluded by a member of the United Nations and a non-member of the United Nations, Kosovo. So Kosovo there's no binding authority of the UN Charter on Kosovo. Okay, Kosovo is not a member of the United Nations Organization. So how could we extend the authority of the rules included in Article 103 to Kosovo?
So you mean a treaty between Kosovo and the US regarding certain things?
Sorry?
Treaty between Kosovo.
Yeah.
It can be extended.
On what legal ground?
Article 2 of UN Charter, Section 6, organizations shall ensure a state which are not member of UN act in accordance with the principle and blah 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 of maintenance of international peace and security.
That's an obligation for the United Nations Organization that the organization has to do something to ensure, etc. But can a treaty be binding on third states? Because that's what we say here. If we say that Article 103 is binding on Kosovo, it means that the Charter is binding on a state that is not a party to the Charter. So, what can we do if we want to leave? Okay. We could argue that Article 103 has become a rule of customary international law. And as a rule of customary international law, it is binding on every single state of the planet, not only the members of the United Nations. So in that case, if you say that Article 103 is a rule of customary international law, you have the same rule on two legal grounds. A treaty which is binding only on member states or on state member of the United Nations, and as a rule of customary international law, it is also binding on states which are not members of the United Nations.
Excuse me, sir, but
Yeah.
case of rule has a married international law, state can derogate the rule in case that there is agreement between the parties.
I'm sorry?
Just to my knowledge, and just last week, I heard that in case of rule of international, customary international law, state can derogate from such rule.
Yeah.
Because it is not the peremptory norm of international law.
Yeah.
So can Kosovo still opt out of that Article 103?
Well, it could try to do that with in its relationships with a state that is not a member of the United Nations. And in that case, we could imagine that the two states outside of the UN could come to a treaty that derogates from Article 103.
But sir, if US agree to with Kosovo to derogate from that treaty, that article, does that mean that?
Well, there is, in that case, there is a violation of Article 103 by the United States of America. For Kosovo, it will be more complicated to say that its international responsibility is engaged in such by the conclusion of such a treaty. Okay, thank you. So